Hello and welcome back to another flute tip of the week. My hair is recolored, my hamster is back, I've done my first load of laundry. It's only been a week since I've been back and I'm starting to finally feel like I'm properly back in the swing of things. This week I thought it would be very important for us to talk about something a bit more practical, an exercise you can work on every day, and it's something that you're going to be using in almost every piece. Let's get our thrills with some trills. Take the time to exercise your trills so they come out as strong and controlled as the rest of your technique. It can be really easy for people to think, oh, a trill, just play that once in a while, it's just gotta be fast and it's gotta get to the next point at the right time. But there are so many things that you can do with trills, and also so many habits that come along with playing trills that naturally we have to come and fight. There is the focus of which note in the trill needs to have the most concentration, how your fingers are releasing so that you're not just clunking against the flute and have a nice even trill. And also we naturally want to accent the start of trills or even do a crescendo into the middle of the trill, as if as we're doing it, we're finally getting into the swing of things. But everything needs to be controlled and within the same musical idea as the rest of a phrase around it. And the best way to make sure that you're able to control all of this is to have an exercise that you go to whenever you feel that your trill is not exactly how you want it to be. And this, my friends, is that exercise. This exercise is based on the idea that most of us use when we're doing work on difficult passages, and that is using rhythms to strengthen and familiarize what we are having difficulty with. But of course, on a trill, we're only going to be using this on 2 notes. So the things we need to be thinking about while we're doing this are the lightness of your fingers, the control and consistency of your airstream, and of course, which note you feel is the most important in this trill. I know that this may sound odd to some people, but think about it. If you have a G major scale and you suddenly have a pause on the F sharp, you don't want both the F sharp and the G to sound the same strength when you're doing a trill. You want to really emphasize the F sharp so that you can have that weight and that suspense before resolving to the tonic of the G again. Alternatively, there are a lot of passages where you're going to need both notes to be equal in terms of the use of your dynamic range and the emphasis. It's all about the context of the piece. But this is why this exercise is going to be really helpful, because it'll allow you to master the control needed, the lightness you can have in your fingers, and also just be really familiar with the centering of the notes so that when you're doing it in the context of the piece, it doesn't feel alien to you. Let's take an A to B trill. So the first part of this exercise, we're going to be holding the A and then very quickly playing the B. So instead of having it as an even rhythm, we're going to be having it as if it's a very, very fast grace note. Now we do it closer together. Closer still. And all the while, make sure that you have a nice tone on the bass, which is in this case the A. Now, let's swap that around. So we're going to be sustaining the B and quickly going down to the A. And now we're going to do it in a slightly different rhythm so that we can start to get more flow. First, let's do it starting on the A again. Now on the B. Now we're going to do it so that we're doing enough of the rhythm to swap between sustaining the B and sustaining the A, like this. Now, see how it feels when you are doing the trill with the focus on the A, and really listen for which note is really dominant in this trill. Now do the same for the B and really focus on having that nice beefy tone on the top part of the trill. Now, As we would with most trills, we're going to start on the bottom note, in this case the A, and instead of focusing on just the A or just the B, we're going to have an even tone and making sure that both notes are strong. So neither the A or the B is dominant. They are both equal in this trill. As you can hear, each trill has its own kind of character, and it's really important to understand and be able to gain control of this so that you can really pick and choose exactly what you want in a musical phrase. You don't want every trill to be the same, but you need the control to make sure that they're not always too different. I'm going to bring up my taffy puller idea again, because this is something that is very helpful, particularly for trills. So as I said in one of my first videos, a taffy puller is basically something that they would use in an old-time candy shop where they would put the taffy over this hook and pull it and just keep on pulling it evenly so that it would stretch and have an even consistency. And whenever I find someone is having a technical, breathing, or musical issue, I get them to imagine the taffy puller where the notes or the air are being pulled directly from you instead of you having to push it out. In this way, you are only thinking of the steadiness and the consistency of the air rather than the force needed to maintain it. When we are doing trills, to try to avoid having an accent at the start of the trill or having a swell into the middle of it like this, sometimes it's written in the piece, a lot of the time it's not. Imagine them just being pulled from you. Imagine the taffy puller just bringing the air out of you so that it's nice and steady and allows you to maintain the same consistent trill that you are intending to have. So again, that tip was take the time to exercise your trills so that they are as strong and controlled as the rest of your technique. I hope you find this week's tip helpful. Trills are an integral part of musical interpretation, and so it is important to really know exactly all the options you have. And the only way to be able to take advantage of all of the choices and all the variations you can use, you need to be able to control it and be able to determine for yourself rather than have automatically happen to you what you want to produce. I'll see you all next week. Flute happy, trill happy, and keep warm. It's still pretty chilly out there. For the first time ever, I'm actually really happy with an ID photo that I had taken. It actually looks like me. Remarkable.